When planning doing this planted tank, we wanted to make it replicable to the audience, so we wanted sort of your average customer to be able to come in, see that tank and then go, oh, I want a slice of that in my living room. And I think we achieved that pretty well. So during the planning stages of the tank setup, I decided to actually take a photo of it, upload that onto our computer and then print it off and laminate it, just so that I could use it just to have a little scribble on, just to have an idea of what the hardscape would look like with plants around it. And you can see on screen now that little doodle that I did. I found it quite a useful tool, and it's one I've actually used since on a lot of my own tanks at home. And it's just a really good thing to do, a little tip. When setting the tank up, initially what I did was I took around a week or so messing with the hardscape. I find it really, really helpful to me to sort of do like a simple layout, one that I'm happy with, and then I'll go away, sleep on it, come back, and if I still like it, I'll sort of work with it essentially, and that's kind of what happened with this one. It was actually sat dry in the shop for about a week or so. I was just gauging customer feedback on it, and that's sort of the hardscape I ended up going with. After scaping it, we then took the hardscape out, added in the substrate. So we started with a base layer of JBL volcano mineral, and that was sort of an inch or so layer on the bottom. And then on top of that, we then put in Tropica's fine sort of substrate, sort of a base layer. And then we used the JBL volcano mineral on the top, and then we capped it off with a layer of the Oasis Scaper soil, the black variant, which is one of my personal favourite aqua soils. I've used all of them and it just works the best. So to stay true to the sort of more budget friendly side of aquascaping, we decided to use the Superfish Scaper 140 tank. It's a really, really nice size and comes with all of the kit that you need to have a go at sort of a first time planted tank. And I love the rimless look of it too. It's really, really nice. With the Scaper 140, it comes with an EcoFlow 240 filter. It's an excellent external filter for sort of a first time planted tank. I personally opted to put the Biomaster on it, purely for the fact that that's sort of what we wanted to use, and we've had amazing results from it basically. The reason we opted for this was because it's got a really, really good feature built into it. It's got a heater inbuilt, and that allows you to keep a lot of the clutter out of the tank and allow that sort of really clean aquascaped aquarium look. No one really wants the eyesore of a heater sat in the tank. Another amazing feature from the Biomaster is that it's got an inbuilt pre-filter, which really, really takes a lot of the load on the filtration capacity. It means that I haven't been having to clean the filter out as often. The pre-filter does a lot of the heavy loading, and it's an absolutely phenomenal bit of kit. In my opinion, the key to a successful high-tech planted tank is the use of a CO2 bottle and CO2 injection into the tank. We're using the Colombo CO2 DIY kit on the display tank, and I've had some phenomenal results from it. That tank's been up for approximately 10 months now, and the plant growth is unrivaled. On the planted tank, we're running the Superfish Scaper 90 LED. They're an incredibly powerful light and really, really good budget option. You'd be able to grow most species of plants under it, even some of the more complex red plants I've had success with. Combining that with the CO2 and the filtration that we've got on the tank, I believe it's given us some excellent results. So we didn't actually soak the wood before putting it in the tank, but to ensure that it didn't float up, I took an hour or so gluing the wood elements to the rock in the tank just to make sure it doesn't float up, because there's nothing worse than when you set up a tank, you get it all going well, and then the wood bubbles up. It is an aquascaper's nightmare. After getting all the substrate and all the hardscape in and sort of where I wanted it to be, I then proceeded to spray down the tank, get it nice and wet. It basically makes it a lot easier to plant into. After doing that, I started with the epiphyte section of the plants. So I used for example, Hygrophila pinnatifida, a lot of Bucephalandra species, and also a lot of Anubias species. And I sort of glued them all down in a sort of layout that I was quite happy with. After planting all the epiphytes, we then went ahead and planted up the stem portions. So we used Pogostemon erectus and Ludwigia super red in the background in some quite nicely arranged bushes. And they look absolutely phenomenal, basically. We also, during the setup, planted a very dense carpet of Glossostigma. It's a really, really nice carpeting plant, but it does take a while to actually spread. We found that it took a month and a half to 2 months for it to actually spread, which is quite surprising considering the tank's got CO2 injection. After planting the Glosso, rather than having it going just straight onto the hardscape, we decided to split it up and separate it using Cryptocorne parva, which is a really small species of crypt. One of my personal favourite plants, and it's one I always find myself coming back to. So after finishing the layout, getting it all planted, we took a step back from it and made sure that we were happy with it, which obviously we were. So we decided to fill it. We used RO in the tank purely for the fact that a lot of the plant species that we were using tend to do a lot better in soft water. So we went ahead and siphoned water into the tank and got it filled up. So in the top section of the tank, you can see a really nice bright red fern-like plant. That's Hygrophila pinnatifida. One of my favourite plants to use. It gives you a lot of impact and it's quite a fast grower. Being so close to the light, you'll get a lot of really, really nice colour from it, as we have in our tank. To break up the greens from the Anubias, we used a little on the right-hand side of the centre island. We used a mixture of 2 different species of Bucephalandra. We used Bucephalandra biblis and Bucephalandra lamandu and sort of mix them together to make a colour difference, really. On the left-hand side of the tank, we wanted something that's going to be, we wanted quite a large plant and one that's quite punchy, so we opted to use Cryptocorne spiralis, which is some gorgeous striations down the leaves. It's got almost like a pinky sort of outside with a green internal, and it grows nice and large, and I let that grow right up through the gap, right up to the top of the tank, and I think it gives it a really naturalistic sort of vibe. Currently on the tank, I'm dosing plant screen fertilizers, and I'm dosing them daily. They've got a ton of nutrients in them and the plants absolutely love it. I think it's due to this that we've had such excellent results from the tank itself. Pair that with the lighting and the CO2 and it's a winning combo. So there's 2 schools in the tank. Other than the Beckford's pencilfish, there's a nice school of threadfin rainbowfish in there. We get a lot of compliments on the threadfin rainbowfish from our customers, and that's mostly due to the males. When there's a female in the tank, they tend to spar up, they splay their fins, and it makes for quite a cool spectacle. They tend to almost flare them up like that, and that's all basically just to say, I'm the boss. All the girls want me, essentially, but they're a really cool fish. I'm also a fan of the more sort of natural looking fish, so ones that aren't so brightly coloured but are really, really good looking in their own way. So I opted to use a school of Beckford's pencilfish or golden pencilfish. They're absolutely stunning and they've got some really, really nice behaviour, and they tend to act quite differently to your sort of standard tetras and rasboras and whatnot. The way they interact with their environment is really, really cool to watch. We've got a couple different species of shrimp. These are all crystal shrimp or caridina. Tend to be quite a difficult one to keep. They want to be on soft water, which is ideal for this tank because obviously it's on RO. We've got a mixture of black tiger shrimp, red crystal shrimp, red tiger shrimp, and green king kongs. And they just add a really nice element for customers to look a bit closer and try and find them, essentially. So we actually set the tank up last year, just at the start of November. So at the time of filming, the tank's been up for roughly 9 or 10 months now, and it's looking absolutely phenomenal. Me and all of my colleagues are really happy with it, and customers seem to love it as well. If you wanted to come down and see the display tank for yourself, we're at Maidenhead Aquatics at Bristol. If Bristol's a little bit too far away from you, you can go to our website at www.fishkeeper.co.uk and go onto the store finder, locate a shop that's relatively close to you, and you can come down, speak to any of the employees at Maidenhead Aquatics, and they should be able to point you in the right direction about how to achieve a really, really nice planted tank.